Hello, my lovely people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. It depends on where you're watching from. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Chen. This is the first time that you are seeing me. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When you finish watching, please consider subscribing. My return subscribers, you guys rock. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for your thumbs up. Please, when you finish watching, if you have not subscribed, please hit that word subscribe. It's free of charge. It's free. If anybody charge you for subscribing to my channel, just let me know. Auntie, you talk say it go be free. How come then they charge me $1? I beg, tell me. I go set you up good. Thank you so much for your support. So my people, this is Burkina Faso's president that came out to talk to his people. Let me tell you, when your people hire you to do a job, when they hire you to do a job, Abraham said, I will be here. I promise you guys that I will be coming here to talk to you guys. Even when I make mistake, I will come out here and I will apologize to you guys because you guys are my brothers. I am here to work for you guys. So Abraham, in case you guys know, Abraham is an army guy. An army people, they are people that are trained with power. They are people that go to war. They are people that don't have mercy. They know they mercy you. If they find out this and that, they take action. But this guy is doing amazing thing that is shocking the world. That is making the world so scared because they don't know what he's up to. This man came out, and when people elect you, when people put you and support you, when, like he said, even when you make mistake, you come out and talk to your people. That is how to do it. It's not when you hide under your toilet, in the bathroom, under the bed, or your so-called people that you surrounded yourself with to come and tell you, even when you are seeing something koro eyes and they are telling you that something is good and you agree and you tape something and you bring it to your people. Abraham said, come out and talk to your people. Even when you make mistake, they will understand. But when you grab and run with it, you are scared to come and talk to people because you know that they did not put you in there. This Burkina Faso people fought for this guy. Even after taking over, they supported him. They fought for him. Even when he was time, this 2024, that he wanted to step down, Burkina Faso people refused and said, we no go gree, we no go gree. And after everything, because the people rock, the people is the government. I don't know why you guys take it the other way. Burkina Faso people, they rock. They have my respect. Burkina Faso, you guys have my respect for what you are doing in your country. I just pray that in other countries, other African countries, and that's what this video is all about. Abraham is about to tell us what the leaders are doing, what African leaders should be doing to make African continent a better place to be. Abraham is about to spill it again. He's about to spill it again. I am so glad that this president is the president of my time. After you finish watching this man, what he said, then you go ask your president, you go figure whether your president can do something like this. So I look at this man as my president. Ahmed Bola Tinubu, send this thing to Ahmed Bola Tinubu or his children. Send it to his children and let them advise their father to get the hell out of there. You must go, Ahmed Bola Tinubu. So my people that believe and trust good things, and you trust in good things, you believe in good things, I need you guys to watch this 35-year-old pieces it. Pieces it. Pieces the problem of Africa. Just watch it when you finish watching, because he told me to come and tell you that when you see something like this, that you should share it so that the world will know what is happening. The world will know what is happening. So please share, help me share this. Let us obey this 35-year-old that said, let us share this good news so that others will open their eyes. People that have been sleeping for a very, very long time, from me to you. Thank you so much for watching.
Bonjour à tous.
Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome all the young people from the 13 regions who are in the room and those who have not been able to access the room. To all the young people from Africa, to accompany the youth, welcome to the land of integral men.
J'irai rendre un hommage
I would
vivant
like to pay a vibrant tribute to our strong security and defense forces
qui se battent jour et nuit pour que
who
le
fight
Burkina
day
Faso
and night
soit
for Burkina Faso
tienne debout.
to be and remain beautiful.
Je souhaite que nous prenions une minute pour prier.
I would like us to take a minute to pray for those who are on the ground and also for the rest of the souls of those who have fallen for our country.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you.
Rendons grâce à Dieu qui a permis
Thank
que nous nous
you.
retrouvions
Let us give
ici
thanks to God for
aujourd'hui
allowing us to be here today to celebrate the International Youth Day in good
en bonne
health.
santé. Je le dis très souvent parce que
I say this very often because human beings often forget God when they have no problem,
lorsqu'il est dans le bonheur.
when they are in
Quand il y a des
happiness.
soucis, c'est là qu'on se rappelle de Dieu.
But when worries come,
Rendez grâce tous les jours pour le
this is
cycle
when
de
we
vie,
remember
pour la
God.
santé.
Give thanks every day for the breath of life and for health. Youth from Burkina Faso,
La jeunesse,
youth from
cette phase de la
Africa,
vie,
youth, this phase of life where we have enough strength,
d'énergie,
enough energy, like to paraphrase the slammer that has just passed.
la jeunesse,
Youth is the time when we have spent enough time.
nous devons profiter du temps qui nous est donné
We must take advantage of the time we have been given,
pour atteindre nos objectifs, pour changer
use the energy necessary to reach our goals,
changer le monde des autres positivement.
to change the world, to change our world, to change the world of others positively.
Les enfants souhaitent grandir pour être jeunes.
Children.
Personnes âgées
Children want to grow up to be young.
devenir jeunes. Tout le monde veut être jeune.
Older people want to grow up to be young.
Jeunesse,
Everyone wants to be young. Youth is a blessing.
alors profitez de la jeunesse pour faire œuvre utile.
So take advantage of youth to do useful
Voilà
work.
pourquoi quand je vois dans le thème choisi,
This is why when I see in the chosen theme, the first two words that come to mind,
intégration,
Gration.
sécurité.
security.
L'Afrique fait face à de nombreux défis
Africa faces many challenges,
et on doit se poser des questions.
and we must ask
La
ourselves
jeunesse est-elle
questions.
un atout ou un handicap pour le développement des nations?
Is youth an asset or a handicap for the development of nations?
Et vous la savez. Les pays
The
développés
answer is simple and unequivocal, and you know it.
pour la plupart
Developed countries mostly have an aging population, and currently many countries have launched programs to rejuvenate their populations.
L'Afrique a cette chance d'avoir.
Africa has this chance to have a very young population,
Mais pourquoi l'Afrique n'est-elle pas développée?
but why is Africa not developed?
Nous devrons donc nous pencher sur la question de comprendre pourquoi l'Afrique
We must therefore look at the question of why Africa has a young population and why it is not developed, and why developed countries seek to rejuvenate their populations.
Il faut que nous arrivions donc à transformer notre jeunesse en un véritable atout et un moteur.
We must transform our youth into a real asset and engine of development for our continent.
Pour ce faire, nous avons
To do this, we
besoin
need integration.
d'intégration. Nous avons besoin de sécurité.
We need security and development. We need to unite.
Certes, vous entendrez parler de l'Union.
You will hear about the African Union.
Oui, elle existe. Mais quelle
Yes, it exists, but what is the effect of the African Union?
Nous ne pourrons pas parler d'intégration dans le thème.
We cannot talk about integration and not talk about the African Union,
C'est cette organisation qui devrait nous unir.
because it is this organization that should unite us,
Mais nous sommes au
create
regret
real
de
integration.
voir ces guerres qui persistent sur le continent africain.
But we regret to see this war that persists on the African continent, that kills millions of young people,
Et à la tête d'États pourvus d'armées.
and that this organization, which has the head of state provided with an army, cannot organize itself to support certain countries.
N'est pas juste un mot.
The union is not just a word, the union is a symbol.
Et nous, jeunes, devrions apprendre
And we young people should learn from this situation
pour faire de l'intégration une réalité.
to unite us to make
J'ai été
integration a reality.
désagréablement surpris lorsque l'Éthiopie, qui abrite donc
I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which is the seat of the African Union,
et quand j'ai vu le Premier ministre se mettre en treillis,
experienced a conflict, and when the Prime Minister announced to close the university in Addis Ababa to face the threat,
l'action de l'Union africaine.
I did not see the action of the African Union to protect this seat.
Occidentaux pour la plupart voyaient Addis
Western
Ababa
states, for the most part, saw Addis Ababa fall, fold their backpacks, and leave.
L'Éthiopie s'est battue, a trouvé une solution
Ethiopia
interne.
fought, found an internal solution, and lives more or less in peace today.
Les enfants du Congo meurent.
The children of Congo have been dying for years.
Plusieurs autres conflits, tels au Soudan.
Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent.
Nous aurions aimé voir l'Union africaine générer
We would have liked to see the African Union generate the strength and all the strategies necessary to support its states so that they can find peace.
Nous ne viendrons même pas parler de nous ici au Sahel.
We will not even talk about us here in the Sahel.
Depuis près de 10 ans,
For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the scene of international terrorism.
mais nous ne voyons aucun soutien.
But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem.
Pire, il y a quelques jours de cela, un pays
Worse, a few
étranger
days ago, a foreign country in Africa openly announced that it had supported and participated
soutenu et participé à une attaque lâche
in a cowardly, terrorist, and barbaric attack against the forces of our confederation.
L'Union africaine n'a pipé aucun mot pour condamner.
The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference.
L'Union africaine n'a
The
pipé
African
aucun mot
Union did
pour
not say a
condamner
word to
cette
condemn this
ingérence
interference
extérieure à la
of a foreign state in Africa in the internal affairs of our states.
de nos États. Et ce coup de gueule, je souhaiterais
I would like them to hear this shout
qu'ils sortent donc de leur silence
and get out of their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union.
Il nous faut nous unir. Il nous faut nous unir et
We
la
must
seule manière de
unite.
s'unir,
The only way to unite is to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to be able to establish the basis of this unity.
unité-là. Et jeunes, laissez-moi vous dire que pour s'unir,
Young people, let me tell you that to unite, there are three words, three big screws that we must ban from our behavior and our lives.
je parle de la lâcheté, la traîtrise,
I am talking about cowardice, treachery, and incompetence.
il faut bannir
We must ban these three words from our way of life.
de notre mode de vie.
I am going
Je
to
vais
explain
vous
why.
expliquer pourquoi. La lâcheté recouvre beaucoup de vices.
Cowardice covers many
Lâche
screws.
a toujours peur. Et lorsqu'on a peur,
A coward is always afraid. And when we are afraid, we become slaves. We bend. We lick our boots.
nos ancêtres n'ont
Our
pas été.
ancestors were not cowardly.
Et si nous sommes lâches, nos enfants vont nous.
And if we are cowardly, our children will ask us
Imaginez qu'au
questions.
Burkina, nous refusions de nous battre et nous acceptons de nous.
Imagine that in Burkina Faso, we refuse to fight and we accept to submit, to live in slavery.
Nous poserons des questions. Nos parents ont-ils été des lâches pour nous laisser.
Tomorrow, our children will grow up and they will ask themselves questions. Have our parents been cowardly to leave us in slavery? Whether we are alive or dead, we will feel it.
A peur. Et les impérialistes ont compris, ils essaient de faire.
Cowardice is afraid, and the imperialists have understood that they are trying to scare the leaders so that they become cowards.
Tous les autres vices. On fait tout.
Because when you are a coward, all the other screws can be born.
Ils viennent
We do everything so that we are afraid.
nous menacent.
They come to our palaces, they threaten us directly or with veiled
Bien
threats.
sûr, nous répondons comme il le faut.
Of course, we respond as it is necessary. They try to make us understand. They take examples every time.
Ils prennent chaque fois des exemples. Ils nous diront, vous
They tell
savez,
us, you know,
Thomas Sankara a essayé de faire comme ça, mais
Thomas Sankara tried to do this, but he is dead.
président haïtien, il a essayé de faire comme ça, il est où? Il est mort.
President Haitian tried to do this, but he is dead.
Comme ça, il est où? Il est mort. Voilà des propos qu'on nous tient de manière.
Gaddafi tried to do this, but he is dead. These are words that we take in a veiled way to scare us.
Nous voyons aussi souvent certains jeunes.
And we often see some young people trying to take our path in a different way. We can hear them say, such and such person ruled like this, he is in his country.
A régné ainsi, il a la CPI. Telle personne a régné
Such and such person ruled like this, he is in prison.
pour qu'on devienne des lâches. Mais je pense qu'ils n'ont pas compris quelque chose.
All this to try to scare us so that we become cowards.
Nous vaincrons. Ce n'est pas qu'une phrase.
But I think they didn't understand one thing. When we say country or death,
Ce
we
n'est pas
win.
qu'une phrase. Ça a tout son sens.
It's not just a sentence. It's not just a sentence. It all makes sense. We are not afraid and we will never be afraid.
Ils ont fait peur, sûrement, à beaucoup de chefs d'État africains.
They probably scared a lot of African heads of state. They probably scared a lot of African heads of state.
Lorsqu'on a l'occasion d'être dans certaines situations à l'extérieur,
You see, often when we express ourselves or when we have the opportunity to be in certain situations abroad,
prendre soin de notre jeunesse pour pouvoir amorcer notre
we
développement.
often say something to call on African heads of state to wake up and take care of our youth so that we can start our real development. So that we can start our real development.
Publiquement, à nos propos,
We are often misunderstood. Some have publicly opposed us. Some have publicly opposed us because they feel indexed. But I can assure you, youth, that when we find ourselves in the corridors,
ces mêmes chefs d'État nous disent vous êtes sur la bonne voie, c'est ce qu'il faut faire pour que l'Afrique.
these same heads of state tell us that we are on the right track and that this is what needs to be done so that Africa can rise again.
Nous leur posons des questions à savoir pourquoi vous ne
So we ask them questions like, why don't you do like us? Why don't you support us?
Certains nous disent qu'ils ne peuvent pas. Chers aînés,
Some tell us that they have the means, and some tell us that they can't.
Je souhaiterais dire que les peuples africains sont les peuples les plus pacifiques.
Dear elders, African heads of state, at the end of this podium, I would like to say that African peoples are the most peaceful. That African peoples are the most peaceful. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. We are not afraid to come out and tell the people we are sorry. We have been compromised. We have been mistreated. We have been compromised by several things, and we ask for forgiveness, and we come back on the right path and to start working really for the independence of our states and our emancipation. And I think it is possible. If we remain in this posture of fear, we will be cowardly and history will judge us. Our children will ask questions. Our grandchildren will ask questions. We are writing history. There is no place for cowardice. If our ancestors had been cowardly, we would not be here. Do you remember? I will give you an example of the people of Bamileke and Bassa. I want to talk about the Cameroonians, the union of the population of Cameroon, which since the 1950s has started a relentless fight against the Poles, but they have been massacred. The French colonial armies, in turn, have dispatched infantry battalions, tanks, helicopters, have annihilated anti-village. The most inhuman tortures have taken place during this period. You can do research on what they call the cart or the bakasima. Hundreds of thousands of people have been decimated in Africa because they dared to ask their settlers to leave their land. A civil war that lasted several years. That is to say that people dared to face the imperialists with their bare hands so that we could be here. There is no reason why we cannot face the imperialists so that our future generations can live. There are many examples throughout Africa of brave men who refused to be cowardly, who fought, who faced. Well, let us be worthy of these people. We are their descendants, and let us be worthy of them.
Ne soyons pas lâches.
A coward cannot be worthy.
Parce qu'un lâche,
Let us not be cowards, young Africans, because a coward is always a traitor. And it goes hand in hand. They will try to frighten us so that we become cowards. And if we are cowards, we will betray. We must ban the treachery of our habits. Africans have been traitors so that the slave trade succeeds in Africa. It is because Africans have been traitors that colonization has been able to sustain in Africa. Let us question history. We will see. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, was betrayed because he dared to hold his head. And these same beautiful televisions came to the Congo for a few bids extended to individuals in the Congo for an interview to please their population. And you were able to follow that. Lumumba bothered us. He is dead. We are happy. It is treachery. Many other heroes have fallen so that we are here today. And it is a technique of imperialism to frighten others by taking action to really create terror. It has not started today. I will give you the example of a warrior who fought, Victor Biakaboda.
Lisez, vous comprendrez. Il est issu d'une famille de chefs, pas de la chefferie.
Read it and you will understand.
Il est un enfant.
He came from a family of chiefs.
Il a fait ses études au Sénégal, je crois.
No chiefdom given by the colonizer. He was a worthy child. He studied in Senegal, I believe. He became a doctor in Guinea. And when the RDA was created, he went to the Ivory Coast region to fight against imperialists, against invaders, against the colonizer. He tried to organize the Ivorian society. Everywhere, people began to speak up. There was a general in his time, Pichu, who massacred the Ivorian population so that this spirit of freedom could never germinate. He continued his fight alongside F.A.O.R.C.U.C. Lix Houphouët-Boigny. They fought, but the most violent was Victor Biakaboda. He represented a threat to the imperialists. What did he do? In addition to massacring the people who demonstrated, one night they killed him in an atrocious way next to Bois-Flancy. A few hours later, when the people of Dimbakro heard the murder, they marched, they demonstrated. They were massacred by the colonial army. History was killed. The facts are there. After his death, which scared FOC Lix Houphouët-Boigny, they called him and told him, if you continue the fight, you will meet the same fate. He was afraid and he joined imperialism. He was appointed minister in France and later he came to take the reins of the Ivorian Accord. They used him to eliminate many other people who dared to raise their voices. I think Thomas Sankara is a good example. If you are afraid, you will be cowardly and you will be a traitor. Never be afraid. The fight must continue. There are many other examples around the world. And there is this phenomenon that they have also used for a long time and that they continue to use. You see, some individuals, for example, have found themselves in other countries and created a so-called parallel government to the Malian government. You have heard this story. It is a technique that has existed for a long time. I will give you the example of Ahmed Chalabi, Iraq. This math teacher, who was even in the Iraqi government, was recaptured by the imperialists, and he formed this semblance of parallel government in Iraq, in the United States.
Parce que c'est à lui
And he
qu'on
was
a dit
used to be the sheep of
prononcer
sacrifice,
publiquement que Saddam Hussein développait des armes de destruction massive.
because it was to him that it was said that Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction,
Et cet alibi
and
a
he
été
did it.
utilisé pour tuer des millions d'enfants en Irak et détruire l'Irak.
They used him. And this Talibi was used to kill millions of children in Iraq
Un soir,
and destroy Iraq.
après une interview, dans l'interview, il disait même qu'il sait que la
And do you know what was the fate of Chalabi?
quelques heures après, il a été retrouvé mort dans son lit, mort de...
One evening after an interview, he said that he knew that the CIA was on his back.
Si vous trahissez, vous aurez des fins macabres.
A few hours later, he was found dead in his bed, dead of a heart attack. If you betray, you will have macabre endings. That's how it is. Imperialism has no friends. Imperialism uses you.
Et quand il finit de vous utiliser, il fait
And when
de
it
vous
finishes
utiliser.
using you, it does what it wants with you.
Vous comprenez
Follow my gaze.
de quoi
You
je
understand what I'm talking about. It has always been like this.
parle. Le troisième vice,
The third vice that I invite you to leave is incompetence.
c'est l'incompétence. Ah, je reviens encore au mot du slameur qui a marché sur
Ah, I'm coming back to the word of the Islamist who walked on my tongue. Incompetence.
L'incompétence est un phénomène très dangereux.
You understand what I'm talking about. Incompetence is a very dangerous phenomenon that they use to destroy African society.
Reconnaissons-le. Les incompétents ont beaucoup
In our administrations, there is a lot of incompetence. Let's recognize it. Incompetents have a lot of space next to imperialism,
Les incompétents peuvent
because
vous amener
incompetence can take over the development of a country. Incompetence can lead you to doubt yourself.
Les incompétents aiment tout pour eux seuls.
Incompetents love ease. Incompetents love everything for themselves. Incompetents don't like those who are competent.
Ceux qui cherchent. Les incompétents
They don't like those who innovate, those who seek. Incompetents are
lorsque
dangerous.
vous êtes éclairé, l'incompétent ne vous aime pas.
When you are enlightened, incompetents don't like
L'incompétent ne
you.
vous aime pas.
When you want to innovate, incompetents don't like you.
L'incompétent sait reconnaître celui qui est compétent et il va le
Incompetents only recognize those who are competent,
qu'il a peur de
and they
ce
will
qui est
fight him until his last breath,
Cherchez
because
la
he is afraid of
connaissance.
those who are competent. Seek knowledge. Seek knowledge and work. Work hard to be competent. Ban incompetence.
Parce que, à travers les distractions
Because through distractions that we want to make us adopt,
adoptées, on devient incompétent.
we become incompetent.
Les réseaux sociaux sont les...
I'll give you an example. Social networks are the places where information is published today.
s'informent à travers Internet et beaucoup de choses. Un jeune qui
People are informed through the
les
internet.
réseaux sociaux, un article sur sa ferme,
A young man who publishes an article on his farm or an agricultural project or a scientific project may not have 1,000 views.
il n'aura pas peut-être 1000 vues.
But a young man who publishes on futility has millions of views.
Ce que moi j'appelle du n'importe quoi.
As the young slammer said, we want to waste your time on futility.
Justement, comme disait
Be
le
aware.
slameur,
Let's
on peut
focus
faire
on
perdre
work
du temps
and
dans
seek
la
knowledge.
futilité.
Let's seek
Prenez
competence.
conscience. Intéressons-nous au travail.
It's good to be
Cherchons la
distracted,
connaissance.
but we must work first before being distracted. Seek knowledge, otherwise you'll waste your time doing nothing.
D'abord, avant de se distraire. Cherchez la connaissance, sinon vous perdrez du temps à ne rien faire. Et la jeunesse,
Youth is the time when you must use your time wisely.
il faut exploiter son temps à bon escient. Les impérialistes le savent.
The imperialists know this.
Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est événement de distraction. Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est
That's why they multiply all events of distraction.
travail pour que vous soyez des incompétents.
They multiply all events that can distract you from work so that you become incompetent. When you fall asleep, you choose the incompetent to lead the important structures. You have no choice but to fold. Let's not be incompetent. Let's seek knowledge.
Les incompétents se cache souvent derrière des mots.
Incompetents often hide behind words. They use the terms democracy and freedom without realizing what they mean.
Camarades, la démocratie est un état d'esprit.
Democracy is a state of mind as much as youth is a state of mind.
Ces soi-disant démocrates,
Whether you're a Democrat or not,
comment est-ce qu'on peut
how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people?
C'est de la dictature, ça, ce n'est pas de la démocratie. Ça ne
It's a
s'impose pas.
dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it.
Ceux-là qui se disent démocrates, mais regardez, nous avons
Those who
vu
call
des
themselves
scènes
Democrats
où on a
have seen
empêché des
scenes
gens
where
d'entrer
people
dans
were
des
prevented from joining
assemblées. On a vu des
assemblies.
scènes où des forces ont débarqué dans des assemblées pour obliger.
We've seen scenes where forces landed in assemblies to force deputies to take texts.
Plus terrible que ça.
We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Perseus.
Si c'est ça la démocratie, je répète.
If that's democracy, I repeat, we don't want this democracy.
Et quand vous voyez souvent les incompétents,
And when you see
ils ne
incompetence,
cherchent pas à savoir quelle est la signification.
they don't seek to know what the real meaning of the word democracy is.
À la définition qu'il lui a donnée l'impérialisme, et il se met.
They cling to the definition given to them by imperialism and start talking about democracy without really knowing the basics. That's incompetence.
Regardez le monde pour redéfinir la démocratie.
You have to know, look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa.
Les incompétents se cachent derrière les libertés.
Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact.
C'est un fait.
Do you really think everyone is free? Freedom is collective. As long as we live in a society with rules, freedom is collective.
Avec des règles, la liberté est collective. Parce que si vous ne respectez pas les règles,
Because if you don't respect the rules, you can't live in society.
si vous êtes libre de parler comme
If you're free to speak as you please, the other is free to answer as he
de vous
pleases.
répondre comme il veut,
That would be disorder.
ça sera du désordre. Si vous êtes libre de
If you're
rouler dans la
free to
rue et
walk
de
the
passer
streets
le
and
feu
pass
rouge
traffic
comme vous voulez,
lights as you
l'autre est
please,
libre de passer aussi et de vous cogner.
the other is free to pass by and
Vous
hit you.
comprenez que si
You understand that if individual freedom takes over, we are in a society of disorder.
voilà pourquoi il y a des règles dans la société.
That's
Les
why
règles,
there are
tout le monde
rules
doit
in
les
society.
respecter. Et là, on parle de liberté collective.
And everyone has to respect the
Donc,
rules.
certains se donnent le droit de parler de leur liberté individuelle.
That's why we're talking about collective freedom. Some people have the right to speak about their individual freedom, but they don't care about others. I think that's also part of incompetence,
Ils s'arrogent les droits que peut-être les États les ont donnés.
because they don't try to understand. They make up the rights given by the states to serve and do everything for themselves, neglecting the freedom of others.
On pense à la liberté d'autrui.
No, freedom is collective. Before we act, we think about the freedom of others, and we shouldn't transcend the freedom of others. So we need to have a reserve. And once we have a reserve, individual freedom doesn't exist. Freedom is collective, and we need to have this culture of collective freedom.
Cherchons donc la connaissance, lisons.
So let's seek knowledge, let's read, let's interrogate history. Don't read the history they wrote in their favor.
Cherchez la connaissance à travers plusieurs sources et vous comprendrez.
Seek knowledge through several sources, and you will understand in history who fought for Africa, how we must fight to continue this struggle of our ancestors.
Et je ne terminerai pas mes propos sans faire.
And I won't finish my words without making a statement about communication.
Parce que comme je le dis, c'est l'arme fatale de l'impérialisme. Et vous jeunes,
Because as I said, it's the fatal weapon of
pour
imperialism.
savoir distinguer le vrai du faux.
And you young people, you must do everything to distinguish the true from the false. We will continue to dismantle the lies of imperialist media that always try to create problems in Africa.
Par leur bouche, ils peuvent vous rendre un roi demain.
Because these media, through their mouths, can make you a king tomorrow.
Et vous rendre.
Through their mouths, they can make you leave your position as king and make you a poor slave tomorrow. pay attention.
Je suivais une émission, malheureusement, il n'y a pas longtemps, burkinabé, où un jeune
I was following a program, unfortunately not long ago, in Burkina Faso, where a young journalist released a sentence that left me a little perplexed.
Il meurt de faim en Corée du Nord. A-t-il pris le soin d'aller en Corée du Nord enquêter pour voir vraiment s'il meurt de faim?
He was talking about North Korea, and the journalist said, but he is starving in North Korea. Has he taken care of going to North Korea to investigate to see if he is really starving? Since imperialist media have sold North Korea is more developed than many European countries. And because these media tell us that North Korea is a dictatorship, people are starving, they are poor, they have nothing, we take it here. But North Korea is a nuclear power. How did they do it? Let's pay attention to communication. We must not blindly follow these lying media that only try to divide Africa. It is logical. They fight for the interests of their people. And the interest of their people is that Africa is divided. So, young people of Burkina Faso, young people of Africa, we must unite. We must ban cowardice. We must ban incompetence. We must ban treachery and all the risks in our society. We have the opportunity to speak. We thank God for these opportunities that we have each time to speak, to raise awareness. And I invite you to spread the word, to get to work so that the Africa that we want, self-sufficient in terms of food, is a reality. So that the Africa that we want for harmonious development is a reality. Let me finish because I return to your theme. There is no peace and security without development. The two go hand in hand. If there is no development, there is no security. Because if there is no development, the youth will inevitably find themselves in the vice and there will be no security. If there is no security, there is no development. So the two must go hand in hand. Let's integrate this in our fights so that we can fight and develop. Let's go towards production. Let's produce enough. Let's transform our raw materials so that they are beneficial for our populations and in terms of exportation.